to the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Uh, Let me start by doing some introductions. On my left here is the Honorable Deputy Minister of Finance for Budget and Planning, Honorable Daniel Bronson. And sitting near her is Honorable J. Wellington Bachu. He's the Assistant Minister of Finance for Planning. And then Honorable Sarah McGill Mulva. She's the Assistant Minister of Finance for Budget. We have other persons on our technical team here. I've called you to have a conversation. It's not a typical press conference type of thing, but it's an engagement. Since we submitted the budget, we are very happy with the lively public debate. Many persons are weighing in from their various vantage points. So it tells you that, the budget is the document that concerns the generality of our people. So I will first start by thanking everyone who has weighed in. So far, it's our duty to give more information. As I said once upon a time, the budget is a more than 700-page book. So the complexities of the budget may not be well appreciated by some in society looking at it from their vantage points. But before we talk about budget, I wanted to brief you briefly about the MCC. You know that last year in December, Liberia was declared eligible for a second compact under the Millennium Challenge Corporation's program. And we have started the process. We obtained from the MCC management, visited this country in January. In fact, some of you might have been here when former Ambassador Turner and the MCC head for Africa, Jason Small, came here in January of this year, and we're talking about the next steps. We're about to hire a national coordinator for the new MCC office, a senior economist, gender specialist, private sector specialist in some positions. We won our first compact in 2015, where the country was granted, and we underline granted, it was not a loan, of $257 million. Most of the money went to rehabilitating our hydroelectric facility, which today remains our major source of electricity. The MCC usually, once they approve a compact and you sign a compact agreement, you have 5 years to implement the compact. So that's why the old MCC team, led the process. And I think in 2020 or 2021, it formally closed down. So now we are going to, we're on the process. Last year we were declared eligible for a second compact. And then there was a transition in the US government, transitioning from President Biden to President Trump, and the new government came with new policies. As you all know, one of the things that happened was the shutdown of USAID and cancellation of many projects. We were one of the worst hit. USAID was our second largest donor, next to the World Bank. Out of 29 projects, I think we only have 5 still existing. They are practically winding down. In terms of aid cut, I think my people tell me it was upwards of $300 million US. Then the MCC was put on pause. It was not canceled, but put under the review of Secretary of State Rubio And we've been engaging as a country. When President Barker visited the U.S. upon the invitation of President Trump, one of the things we did there was to engage the MCC heavily. I led the team, visited the management. There's been a tag team approach with my colleague, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Her Excellency Cyril Besto Nyanti. We've been working on this, and that we've made some significant progress. You all know since September, an MCC team visited here, and they spent 2 weeks meeting stakeholders, and that when we went to the annual meetings of the IMF World Bank in October, we had some serious engagement with the MCC. But because it was a shutdown, we couldn't publicize. But that engagement left us very hopeful that we were on track. And not long ago, the MCC issued its latest scorecards for FY2026. It's actually grades FY2025, in which our country, your country, made a pass. We passed 12 of the 22 indicators, including what they now call high hurdles. High hurdles include corruption, government accountability, and personal freedom. Before, I think you only had one high hurdle, but now they have two. They've increased the indicators to 22 from 20, so you must pass a minimum of 11. I need to say that we have to put things in context. I don't want to name or shame anyone, but it is not everyone that passed, not every country that passed, including even in our region. So we have to appreciate in our immediate region and in our sub-region, there are some, big weeks that did not make the pass. Liberia made the pass, and so qualifying for consideration at the upcoming board meeting of the MCC, which takes place in December. Let me say how significant that pass was. Had we failed, case closed, we wouldn't have even gone to, our files wouldn't have been eligible to be opened at the board meeting. So it was very critical that we made the pass. And that I think the board meeting may be held on the 3rd of December or so. But from where I sit and from what I know, we are very hopeful. We are not resting. We are working. We are engaging. Myself, the president himself, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and our team. We have an MCC office here, group of technical folks who have been working directly. Let me thank Deputy Minister Depu Wazukwe and Honorable Bachu, who worked with the MCC team when they came. And let me thank our colleagues in government, because we at the Ministry of Finance, we are just coordinators. To pass the score means many other persons in government pass. So we have some good scores, and all the colleagues in government under the leadership of the president did extremely well. So I just want to say we are well on track. And if when the board meets, what is going to happen is like a reaffirmation now. It's like what happened last year is going to happen this year under the new administration. They reaffirm, they say, okay, we feel that you are eligible for a second compact. Then negotiation and some technical analysis on what the compact figure could be would then ensue. So I just wanted to give that to you. On the budget, on the 7th of November, the president submitted the budget, the fiscal instrument for fiscal 26. That spans January 1 to December 31st, 2026. The total budget is in the tune of 1.211 billion. 1.211 billion. And one of the envelopes in there is a one-time expected revenue injection from signature bonus that could come from the ratification of the Metal Third Amendment or the extension of the Metal Concession Agreement. It's one time, and so, but if you net the one time 200 million, the budget is 1 billion, 11 million. I repeat, 1 billion, 11 million. And one of the significant features here is that 94% of the $1.2 billion budget comes from domestic resources, domestic revenue. Only 6% is external. This is historic because the external portion of the budget had traditionally been very high. Okay, I mean, this is one time that external portion of the budget has come down to 6% because the internal, meaning what we do for ourselves, 94%. So we'll give you other details, but we wanted to say that what we decided to do basically was to allocate, especially the metal one-time injection to projects. In budgeting, you do not budget one-time injection to things that you expect to recur. So we are putting the money principally in projects. And we, of that amount of money, we're putting 100 million in what we consider our top two priorities. Everything, if the arrest agenda talks about priority, you know the arrest. But road connectivity and energy access have been considered the top two constraints to growth. Lack of adequate road connectivity and access to power, limited access to power. And also, the third one is access to finance. So, if you want to grow the economy, if you want to deal with jobs, you have to deal with the structural issues that are impeding the achievement of those outcomes. And so, that's why we are intentional. We are putting more money in roads because money in roads have a multiplier effect, knock-on effect on all the other sectors. Good roads affect the health sector because people can move quick, easily, and get health services. Good roads affect positively the education sector. Students can move easily, and go and get educated. Agriculture. Our country, we have areas of productivity that sometimes don't connect with areas of demand because of bad roads. The goods or the products of farmers sometimes get rotting on the road. So if we have good roads, we affect agriculture positively. So I could go on and on and on. So road, that's why we often repeat what the Chinese say, that the road to development begins with the development of roads. And that's why President Bouaka, once upon a time, when he was asked about his top three priorities, he said priority number 1, roads, priority number 2, roads, priority number 3, roads. So we took 100 million, we put additional 50 million in roads, and additional 50 million in energy of the 200 million. The 50 million additional in roads adds up to another, I think, 58 million in the budget for roads. We're also attracting a lot of partner support to other streams going to the road sector. We are very intentional about crowding in resources and moving quicker with our rural agenda and the energy agenda. You saw what happened during the past dry season. It was good, but we need to sustain it and expand it. We have acceded to the Energy Compact initiative funded by the World Bank and the African Development Bank. President Boyka led a team that visited Tanzania at the Africa Energy Summit, and we signed what is called the Liberia Energy Compact. The Energy Compact really says that the intention of this government is to increase energy access. In January, it was around 33%, to nothing less than 75% in 5 years. We're well on course. I'm told now the new numbers should be almost around 40. We're moving. And so LDC, the utility is doing well. We here at the Ministry of Finance, we are backstoppers. We intend to support a project for smart metering that will reduce losses. I'm told that out of every potential data LDC could generate, they are losing significantly. Almost like they're only generating about 53 cents of a dollar. And the smart meter project will make sure that I think they will generate 95 cents of the dollar. And that reduction will increase access, profitability, and that more access will reduce costs, and then businesses can get assured of more reliable power. There are other places we put the allocation, the one time, including to University of Liberia. But the frontier counties in which META operates, Nimba, Grand Bassa, and Bong, I think getting a total of 14 million, with Nimba getting the bulk of it, more than 6 million. Grand Bassa, more than 4 million, I think, and Bong, something more than 3 million. That is in addition to some of the regular streams of support that they have through some of the other lines, County Development Fund and others. So we have a whole listing. Some of you members of the press have been doing justice to the list. Your talk shows have been dominated by the budget. We thank you for elevating this. It's not only government people you ask. You've brought in people from different dimensions or different perspectives. Some have been critical. Some have been commending. That is the democracy we have. So overall, I wanted to say that one of the key allocations that people are not talking about in the budget is debt service. Debt service, we've allocated 230 million to debt service alone. It's growing from 155 million in this year's budget to 230 million. And let me say, because someone could think that, oh, why are you spending all that amount of money on debt? If we owe as a country, we must pay. The law, the PFM law says, the first claim on revenue is debt service. So if you raise money according to the PFM law and you're about to allocate the money through the budget, you should take off what you need to pay your debt. That's what the law says. But let me say that the debt service obligation for next year is even higher than what we even allocated. Almost hovering around 300 million. So we are renegotiating with some folks and what have you. And one of the things we did was to renegotiate with the commercial banks. In this budget, you will see that we've allocated almost 90 million for the repayment of debt service obligation to the commercial banks. The government from the past, currently, have been taking money from commercial banks through what is called treasury bonds. Treasury bonds. Principals and interests have been falling due, and so we must pay. If we don't pay the money to the commercial banks, the banks will be short of money, and then those of you that run businesses, you go to the banks to credit, the banks may not have money, and we could be the cause of instability. And also, it's not a good thing for government to be the first defaulter or the defaulter in chief in this environment. It's not good. It's bad signaling to the economy. So we also have put money in to pay central bank. The government owes the central bank. And of the obligation we owe the central bank includes the repayment obligation for $83 million loan that was taken in 2000, latter part of 2003 to purportedly service salaries for November and December 2023. This year we've been obligated to pay 16 million. Next year we are being obligated to pay another 16 million. In the debt service burden for next year, we have 14 million in the budget to pay towards the AfriXM loan that was contracted by the past government for the road from here to RIA. 14 million is in this budget towards payment of that loan. And I could go on, but one of the areas that you need to know, yes, we are attracting financing from partners, including the World Bank, the African Development Bank, but we have to pay back. Most of the financing we get from them, except you hear grant. You see, the USAID funding was actually grant. USAID, and if we succeed on the MCC, it will be grant. EU is largely grant. Most of the World Bank funding is loan. Although the loan, African Development Bank too, most of it is loan. You got to know that. What it means is that government pays back. Although for the World Bank and even the African Development Bank, the repayment period is very long, sometimes 40 years. Very low interest rate. So that's how they call it concessional loan. Very low interest rate, long period of payment, but still you have to pay back. The government has been contracting, taking financing from World Bank here and there. So just for next year, in terms of repayment of World Bank debt service, $25 million is in this budget. $25 million to the World Bank to pay back debt service. So that's one of the reasons why I usually tell people, don't say there's a donor project, because eventually we pay. It's our money. So African Development Bank will pay more than $5 million in debt service, and at some of the financing that was taken for the road from Banga to Menekoma, the debt service obligation has already started coming due. Then we're paying, if I'm not mistaken, almost 3 million or more than 3 million to the Saudi fund, and I think another 1 point some more million, if I'm not mistaken, to the Kuwaiti fund. So 230 million. If you look at the total financing to health and education, I think the total allocated to health is about 101 million, and to education is about, I think, 132 million. So when you compare that with debt, so debt is rivaling, two critical sectors. So, but why is it important again that we pay the debt? Access to finance has been deemed as one of the what I call constraints to growth. What do I mean? If people can go and borrow money from banks or financial institutions at competitive rates, low interest rate, or rates that are not too high, they can easily take money, expand their businesses, give jobs, and what have you. The Liberian rates premium is a little high because of what in banking terminology they call NPL, non-performing loans. Some people go take the loans, businesses, they don't pay back. What they do, they injure the reputation of the entire economy. So because John did not pay back a loan, it makes it difficult for them to give a loan to Paul, or Paul would take a loan at a higher interest rate. So one of the reasons why we're intentional to pay back our debt, government, is that if we don't pay back, Jerry Yakwawolos and others will suffer. So the reason I'm talking about debt is that some people will just think, why are you paying back debt? Our debt stock, our total debt stock as a country is about 2.7 billion in claiming. With the GAC audit, let me say yes, the GAC audit on net will increase the debt stock by almost 95 million. So the debt stock will increase. Yes, GAC invalidated many of the claims, but it validated almost 95 million of the claims. We will add to our debt stock. The domestic debt has been above $1 billion for quite a while. So this is the first time the budget is even chasing domestic debt. So we want to be able to compete with domestic debt as a government so that we can raise money, pay our debt, whatever. So it's a major portion of the budget. So we found some time to get into some questions. I just wanted to give you this. I know you have some other specific questions, but let me stop here, since we say it should be conversational, and allow you, honorable gentlemen and ladies of the press, to feed your questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Minister, thank you for this conversation this afternoon. So, as it stands, there is no yet a fixed amount from the MCC.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. So, yeah, then following during the constraint formulation process, did you include roads again?
For
the MCC?
The MCC?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it's good you asked that question. We don't have an amount from the MCC. When the MCC board goes, maybe possibly, we are getting very hopeful, possibly reaffirming Liberia. What is going to happen is that there's going to be an engagement to be able to determine the actual projects to which any possible support will go. And it is the summation of what they intend to give us for those projects that will determine the amount. So it could be, people have banded some figures around. It could be higher than what they've said. Some have heard 500 million. I've heard some people talking 200 million. I've heard many things. But it could be above 500. It could be below. But let me say this. We have zero now, right? Zero versus anything. Zero versus 100 million. You'll take 100 million. Grant, I'm not talking loan. Zero versus 200 million. You know what you do? I told you what the first MCC amount was. 257. See what it has done. The light price probably we have here is being supplied by that facility. Zero versus 300 million. Zero versus 400 million. So for us, it's how well we use the money. Sometimes you can have big amounts, but the efficiency and effectiveness of usage will undermine the impact. So we'll wait. At the end of the day, the figures will come up. But, we haven't crossed yet. We'll wait for the board. But as I said, from where I sit and from all the engagement we've done our part, we're very hopeful. So let's wait and see. When the team came here, let me announce again, in the engagement, the MCC team actually identified again energy and infrastructure as key constraints to growth. So, if the MCC will give us money, we'll more likely go to those top priorities. There are others, but in the pecking order of priorities, energy and infrastructure. And infrastructure is not only road infrastructure, including port infrastructure. So, you see what we decided to do. Others have identified, have agreed with us that these are the top constraints. So when we were allocating the METAL money, we decided to prioritize our own priorities. So that's why we did. So it was intentional. But thanks for the question.
Yes. Yeah, Julius from OKFM. Some questions. One, in the draft budget is the portion allocated for agriculture. The entire sector is around 13 million plus. I believe the A in arrest is for agriculture, and it has always been seen as one of the most key priorities of the president. The agriculture minister has cried again and again that he needs at least $40 million every year to ensure that the country can become self-sufficient in food production. How come the proposed budget is rising to $1.2 billion and you are allocated to the entire sector $13 million? Is it that they did not do a good job at defending the $40 million they're calling for, or what? That's number one. And how can you convince us that your government is actually prioritizing agriculture as it has been saying it wants to do?
Can I take the first two? Still come back.
No, let me just jot it down. Let me just. Yeah, then the other one has to do with the compensation portion in the budget. I believe it's over $320 million. During the campaign was one of the major issues that the rising cost of compensation for the previous administration, and that it will even come down. Even the CSA boss, the current CSA boss, was talking about bringing compensation in government down and all of that. That compensation plus something else called other compensations could carry compensation close to perhaps $350 million. How can you make up for that when civil servants are crying that you should carry them back to pre-harmonization days, and that is not part of it? But we see the budget going, the compensation package will require. The final one from my end for now is the $200 million from ArcelorMittal. I think the government did a good job to be able to get a concessionaire to agree for a signing bonus to be $200 million. However, one of the challenges facing that company and a whole lot of companies is when people go to the concession areas, they complain that they don't see any hand mark of the concessionaire. When I look at how you allocated the $200 million, yeah, you are giving $6 million plus to Limba for county development activities. I do not know if there's a plan that it trickles down to the very communities within the concession areas, because throughout we've had a history where those communities are not touched. There is no electricity, there is no proper water, and all those kinds of things. Is the government thinking about using a portion of this $200 million to modernize those communities within the concession areas so that it can be like bombing holes and no development?
Well, thank you, Julius, for the loaded questions. On Metal, the signature bonus is a one-time injection. Metal will be expected to operate for years, and the frontier counties will benefit on a yearly basis from social development funds from Metal directly to those frontier counties. And then there are other things that are going to be happening. So this is the signature bonus is in addition to Metal's regular obligation. Metal must pay royalties on the exports. They must pay, for goods they import. There are other things, custom user. There are many other things. The details are there. And some of those things will be paid annually. Those counties are going to benefit annually. They were benefiting annually from what they call social development funds from Metal. They will continue to benefit. So that's about Metal. Now, let me talk about compensation. You know, in budgeting, whenever you have the total compensation size going above 40% of a budget, then you start getting into some issues. It starts getting lopsided. Usually, in terms of what we call crude budgeting for efficiency, is usually a one-third split between or among compensation, goods and services, and capital. You know, the one-third, meaning just around 33% for each of the categories. Some countries in the region, some of the countries that a lot of people tout, sometimes the personnel cost portion goes to 50%, 60%, and sometimes 70%. So our total personnel portion, take 352 as a teacher, 350.
Yeah.
You know, 350 over 1.2. Can someone give me the figure already? What's the percentage? Huh? Yeah, around 29. You're not even 10. So as government grows, personnel cost is better to grow. Why? Because most services. One of the things we're doing, we are going to take up in next year's budget the personnel cost component of ELWA Hospital. ELWA Hospital is operating right here in Monrovia. You saw there were some demonstrations of health workers. And some people, they didn't know, they thought it was government facility. Why is government not paying? No, it's not government, it's private. We could say, you know why, it's a private hospital. But the private sponsors are challenged. Should we sit and allow ELWA Hospital to go under? No. So we're taking up the personnel burden from ELWA Hospital. Just as the government of President Talbot in the 70s started to take up, and we've continued since, the burden of sponsoring or giving subsidy to Phoebe Hospital. That was President Talbot's decision. President Barker has decided that this facility is so critical, we cannot allow it to go under. Next year, we're going to have a new Redemption Hospital. It's going to be dedicated either in January or February. New personnel are coming on, and we have to sustain the hospital. But besides that, as I said to you all before, government, we're dealing with the past, last year or this year, $16 million that we could have used to divide among our civil servants. We are paying the central bank to pay back a loan. But in spite of that, we are moving gingerly. We are topping up. We started with the health sector this year. You know, we gave some top-ups. We gave some top-ups to some security folks. In fact, the police, we bankrolling the insurance, and we'll continue that. Now, with judiciary, you know, they've done some top-ups. Because one of the challenges in the judiciary is that judges and others, people that at that level are barred from doing business. So for them, the impact, they depend on what they earn. So what we gave this year, they have practically, I don't know whether they've reached the point, the judiciary has practically, for judges, they have practically reached it. They still have some gaps, they will continue to do that. We're giving some money to the LACC, you know, to be able to enhance their salary and to be able to boost the LACC and the GAC. But this year is a year of engineers. Engineers in this government, you know, we're bringing in an additional 200 engineers. We're going to put them on the payroll, additional 200 engineers. We're also going to increase the salary of engineers all across the government. That's why we consider this year the year of engineers. Last year was largely the year of health workers. We're bringing in some volunteer health workers this year. We're bringing in some volunteer teachers this year. We're starting with the issue of chiefs. Some chiefs we have put in some money to put in some chiefs, not all, but we are starting. So I could go on and on and on and on. Our personnel cost is not out of whack. It is within boundaries. Agriculture. Look, all these sectors are considered critical to us. But in 1 year, we could move heavily in one sector and emphasize. Why are we putting more money in roads and roads and roads? Because the road affects agriculture. Technically, when we fund road, we fund agriculture. The movement of people. Oh, Julius, you know, when we started this year, there was complaint about inflation. Inflation now, Liberia's inflation is just around 5% or a little bit above that. Manageable. If you check the MCC score, one of the areas we passed is inflation. You know that, right? Okay. You know, one of the things that is explaining low inflation, low domestic food prices. And you know the main reason? It's because food products are coming now from the rural areas. The basket now is not being skewed too much to imported products. Because our people are bringing stuff, the food price, which is a major component of the basket in inflation calculation, dropped. So the more we put in roads, it appears like we're doing it for getting. No, we're doing it for agriculture in a way. We're doing it for all others. It is a multiplier. It has a knock-on effect. So, but let me tell you how we allocate stuff. Besides the normal government budget, there are development flows. You got a whole aid management unit here. We know the portfolio. There are projects and there are some sectors that we know we are funded. I gave you one. In fact, I think today the legislature passed at the House. They have now approved the financing for the construction of the more than 100 schools across the country. $88 million. Okay, let's say less than that because 30 million, almost 30 million is grant, but the other one was financing, so loan concessional. The legislature has approved it. Maybe early December, that project will be launched. So it's not on budget. We know that we have attracted this to the education sector. We here, we deal with the aid. So when we sit and see the panorama, we see everything. When we know that you're benefiting more on this side, you know, sometimes we say, you know what, the others that don't have this, they will get this. So agriculture, in terms of portfolio flows, more than 40 million projects. 40 million. Our thing is we want to move fast and deal with some of the impediments to implementation of some of these projects. We will never ever de-emphasize agriculture. So it's part of the package, but we are intentional that roads and energy this year, in terms of the principles list, these are the two top boys.
Nelson. All right. Thank you, Minister. I'm Nelson Correct. I remember the last, prior to the last budget year, the approval of the last budget, there was a conversation around civil servants, the salaries, and in relation to the minimum wage, that no civil servant is going to make less than the minimum wage. We've seen the budget year come to a close gradually. We're talking about another draft budget. This time around, the biggest budget ever in the history of the country. What's the fate of civil servants with respect to the minimum wage conversation and taking civil servants back to pre-harmonization status?
Let me clarify this. The shock to civil servants on account of, not the civil servants, government workforce was deep and wide. And I never ever said that we could solve it with a snap of the finger. It's a multi-year approach. I told you what we did last year, emphasizing the health sector. We gave some top up to judiciary. Go and ask the folks in the judiciary, judges and what have you. The reason why sometimes folks don't talk and testify when we touch them, it's the same reason. Many people complain that they pay delayed, but when the pay comes, they don't tell their spouses and what have you. You know why? You know why? So, and sometimes we do not want to be the one be telling, we did this for this one. We could cause some crisis. But I can say, I told you that this year is the year of the engineers. I said it. So And one group that we emphasizing this year is LDEA. The officers, the drugs, they're going to recruit more, but we're increasing their remuneration. We deliberate. This is our priority. We're talking about the fight against drugs. The folks that are in the fight cannot be vulnerable. And that we are also putting more money in revenue generating entities. They're going to sprint. So we gave him money. They will recruit more people. LRA going to recruit more people. They could incentivize more, and some other revenue generating entity. And then coming to the minimum wage. The minimum wage in Liberia, it will surprise you, is higher than many of our West African neighbors, even higher than Ghana, even higher than Nigeria, even higher than Sierra Leone and others. In fact, the government 150, I think the minimum wage by the Decent Work Act should translate to, I think, 143 or something like that. But we say 150. We say minimum, meaning the least. That is not the pay of civil servants. People always make this mistake. You pay civil servants 150. No. Many civil servants are making, some of them making 2,000, some of them making 1,000 something, some making 700, 900, go around. So in terms of average, maybe we're talking about 300 to 400 average. So what we say, we will continue to incentivize our civil servants. But it's not just pay. What we're doing here, look, you see the NTA is operating, right? Low prices. What does that do for civil servants that are trying to go to job? The amount of money they take from the meager salary, our employees are getting. So that cost has been taken. We did not have clinic. There's a clinic here. Insurance. So there are a lot of interventions happening across. There's not just us here. Others are doing it across. So when we improve hospitals across the country, what have we done? What have we done for civil servants? When the civil servants can move from here and move quickly to Zwedru and come back, low cost. So it's the whole package. Service obligation is galloping. It's increasing. The debt service obligation just for next year is almost more than 300 million. We are negotiating, and we're talking about 230. We're even short. The next year is going to go up again because the historical financing that governments in the past, up to now, we've been taking, we are now being hounded with the reality of repayment. We cannot run away from it. So if you take the one-time META money, 200 million that we must put to project, because good budgeting will tell you do not put recurrent money to one-time money to these kinds of costs, that you have to be paying every year, because you will get short-ended. You don't want a situation when we promise civil servants, we do. We don't talk loud. When we said last year we're going to increase health workers and others, some others doubted me on some stations that and I told them, wait for January. And after, if these people I'm talking about don't take pay, call me back on your talk show. But I've been waiting for that invitation. They haven't called me yet. So we don't promise something we don't do. We will not be reckless in promising our people. We are moving methodically. Every year we sustain this. We sustain our promise based on what we know. So we are, the LRA and other revenue generating entities are doing a whole lot. We are backstopping them as the envelope goes up. Like this year is the year of engineers. Next year we'll take another professional class. Just like that. Start to improve it. We'll soon reach it. We're on the path.
Moses. Great. Thank you, Minister. Moses Gazil from BBC. Well, thank you. I know the world may be thinking Liberia is fast growing. 94% of your budget is locally sourced. Do we have a new tax regime that you're hoping to put in place to make sure that you raise this money? The next thing is, I know achieving something that is ambitious is quite challenging. What are some of those key mechanisms you put in place? And the last point is, what makes this budget different? Forget about the figure. I know the last one's around 800 million, but what makes this one quite different from the last budget?
What let me say to you, Moses, this budget, we are emphasizing certain things. One of the main things we're doing is improving efficiency of collection. We're investing heavily in digitizing revenue collection. So LRA is one of the biggest beneficiaries of the big budget. Why are we doing it? We gave him money, we gave him more money to get more money. We're investing in the LRA bigly. You see border ports, the collection there's been leakages because they don't have basic equipment, internet, other stuff. They need to hire more manpower. So get ready, LRA will soon start advertising for more manpower. They need to engage in more tax audits. The efficient electronic fiscal devices, that when you go, you pay, a government knows how much you pay for that product, the business owner cannot cheat government. So there are a lot of technical things that are going to happen. We call it improving revenue administration. And as we increase, as we do that, revenue is going to go up. But the other thing is that a few years ago, I think in 2023, we exceeded to some protocol. I don't know, I think it was the ECOWAS external tariff or something, where we're trying to harmonize our goods and services tax or something to the region. And the country agreed. It was legislated to 18% in terms of GST. But in 2024, the government, in spite of the 2023 legislation that we should harmonize at 18%, we said, well, we agree with the legislature that we'll do it at 15%, but we will not have a one-step jump to 15%, the goods and services tax. That's why we've been moving stepwise. It's 12%, it goes to 13%. We're not jumping to the 15% that was agreed. But in 2023, it was agreed, it was legislated that we should go to 18%. So we are moving, gingerly in order to harmonize with the region, because these are things and protocols that when you agree with the region wants you to align your rates with the region. But basically, what is going to happen is efficiency. Efficiency in tax collection. More is going to, all the revenue generating entities are going to do more. The budgets, if you check their budgets, we are increasing the budget of revenue generating entities, giving them what they need in order to generate the revenue. Yeah.
Yeah. In follow-up to Moses' question about taxing, when you look at the revenue generating arm of the budget, you talk about increasing GST to 13%. It was 10 1 or 2 years ago. You were at 12, pushed it to 13. Corporate income tax 2%, and some.
Corporate income tax is not increasing. It's not increasing. Mm-hmm. Let me clarify that. I knew you would ask that question because it is presumptive tax of 2%. Let me clarify. You need that because I think some of your guests, and I like the debate. They said that we are increasing corporate income tax. No. There's something called presumptive tax. I think for the mining and petroleum or some of these critical sectors, it's presumptive, meaning it is from your corporate income tax you pay in advance on a quarterly basis. But it's the 25% is not increasing. So we're not increasing corporate income tax. Yeah. So whatever that perception came from, that's not true.
Then it also talks about some taxation on digital services. So the question I want to ask there is, aren't you risking the process of over-taxation that could have negative impact on the population?
No. I mean, we want to be efficient, and that once we improve the efficiencies, we will not do more than what ordinarily is done. The government, we're talking about roads. We're talking about hospitals. We're talking about agriculture. So we raise the money. We're not going to tax any sector out of business. No. We're going to incentivize sectors. So I said we're going to digitize. When we digitize, we're going to get more through revenues that will come from those efforts. And we will raise money as a result of what we have done. So that's what we mean.
Okay, Mr. Minister, David Major from the Liberia Investigator. The last time I checked, in less than 24 hours, Liberia is still among the 10 poorest countries in the world. The Hunger Index also suggests that we are still below the line. And the analysis I've also gathered from research suggests that the appropriation of funding from taxes or whatever collected, the budgeting, a few offices, a few big shots in the country receive a lot more compared to what goes in development. At least we talk about people in the lower counties definitely benefiting. Look at the office of the president. Look at the office of the vice president. Look at the offices of the speaker, the deputy speaker, the pro tem, and you name them. It suggests that the priorities, considering what the arrest agenda stands for, will definitely be mismatched with regards to what your targets are. 6 years, 2 years already gone, 4 years remaining. Do you think this is realistic?
Major, thank you for that question. School, you asked that question. And let me say this to you clearly. This process has produced many budget experts across the country. And it's good like that. I taught budgeting once. At one point, my class was not full. If I decide to go teach budgeting now, I know there will be too many persons, which is good. Yeah, everybody is that. But it's a good thing. Let me say it on record. The salary of political appointees have not been increased by $1. So political appointees across government don't have $1 increase in this budget. They didn't have $1 increase in last budget. You saw that we even were streamlining fuel. You all talk about that. We haven't increased, and we haven't put a dime on salaries of president, vice president, speaker, and others. Now, sometimes this analysis is done. These offices are not personal properties of these occupants. Some of the folks that work in these offices, there's a whole office. If one of you, reach the point and become maybe president or vice president, the people that work for Moneyback in the vice president office, when they stay there, we have to pay them in the president's office. So this thing about when you think about the office, there's a notion that it's going to a politician or it's going to the official is wrong. And some people, they know the fight, but they do it deliberately. So what does the official have? The official has his or her salary. That's what the official has. So the monies in these offices are not monies for the. If any one of them did so, LCC will be on their back. So this analysis that goes and says, this politician, this person, this official has this 3.5 million. The president takes. It's unfair. Let's be fair. And let me repeat again. For 2 years in a row, this government has not increased the salaries of political appointees. We have not approved any increases. The only place we read it, there was increase, I can tell you this, was the judiciary. The judiciary, because as I said, they are in a peculiar situation where they are barred from doing any other thing. So like this year, they almost, in terms of people on the bench, judges, I don't know I think they might have reached their quote unquote, pre-harmonization levels or so. Or, I don't know, but they are not where we met them. They're not where we met them. So let me clarify that. We are investing in other sectors generally for the benefit of the people generally. But sometimes people in government, some of them, as even some of these folks here, work for money, like in the budget process. People are working here 2 a.m. every day. They had their mattresses in their offices. Females. We never have weekends because our weeks did not end. Our weeks did not end. But there's a demonization. Once you're in government, you should be anti-people. It's unfair. It's unfair. So there are sacrifices being made. We have not. We have not increased. I repeat, not a dime has added to what we inherited. The pay scale we inherited for political appointees from the CDC government, or the past government is the pay scale that we stay using. We haven't added a dime.
Thank you. On the security sector, Corey talking about only LBA and looking at the police. The police is the first line of civil contact to civilian end as everything is happening. We didn't hear anything much about it. One other concern has to do with the issue of waste. Past round, Liberia, it's all over. Talk about the LS, speaking about sanitation. The sanitation is hard to get. But for a clean environment.
Well, we've put in money for, clean cities that we go to the Monrovia City Corporation and others, and some other city corporation. We're very intentional about that. So monies are in the budget. As I said, the budget is a big boat. This year, we emphasize top-ups to certain sectors. This year, 2025, the police, the army, we even are bankrolling the insurance for police. The DEA continues to be in deep situation in terms of pay scale. So we are bringing them up, and they have to regularize. There are some folks they have to regularize. Let me also tell you that we've put some money in this budget for the AFL to start the recruitment of more than 400 persons. Start this year, so they're going to recruit. We will have to support that process. So money is in this budget for that, and that some chiefs who come on the budget, some volunteer teachers. We don't have money to solve all the problems, because the more you do, the more they come. But the Education Ministry is solving the problem methodically. We have some money for that. Help workers have been transitioned. We have some money for that. So we're dealing with personnel-related issues. If we were not hamstrung, I'm telling you, I told you about $16 million in this budget, to do what? Pay the central bank for, past debt. But we have to do it. You cannot come and say, it's a past government thing. Think about $16 million being available, for salary increases generally. And if we don't do it, we're going to slip on our IMF program. The macroeconomic situation that is stable, we could put it out of whack. So we're dealing with that. So you have a responsible government. We'll continue to intervene, as the situation improves. Yes.
Okay, we welcome Favre tomorrow. Let's take Emmanuel.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Willicole from Foundation Africa. I would like to know what are the economic assumptions or realities that inform the preparation of the budget 2026.
Well, we expect the growth to continue. I think we are anticipating a 5.4% growth next year. We expect efficiency, as I said, efficiency revenue collection is going to be our major emphasis. I will ask the LRA Commissioner General to give you some details, everything we want to do, in terms of what actions are going to be taken. As I said, the revenue generating entities are going to do more, in the various sectors. But we have some time to do what we call a deep dive in everything. So, but all I can tell you is that we were not frivolous in our projections. The revenue situation has been going up. In 2011, no, I think not 2011. In 2022, the government in domestic revenue, we generated, I think, 614 million. 2022. In 2023, in domestic revenue, I'm told we generated 611. In 2023, came down by, I think, a few $1 million. In 2024, we generated in domestic revenue almost 700 million. See the jump. 1 year. And this year, in domestic revenue, we're going to go way above 800 million. See how we've been galloping. So if you see the rate of jump, if you know how we're moving, you will not doubt that we can hit the 1 billion target. So that's what's going to happen. So we're not just putting figures because we want to. There's growth momentum. There are many other things that are happening for this country. And we'll be unveiling them as time goes by. Many other good things. Members of the press, don't be surprised that we'll call you for press conferences. You're going to have some good press conferences. Good press conferences. Let me stop there.
Yeah.
That's the question for Yasa.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I want to ask, the MCC places strong emphasis on transparency and accountability. What bottoms reform contributed to Liberia passing school? And also, how did the ministry ensuring financial management stay aligned with the MCC standards?
Well, we passed the 2 hard hurdles. One of them is called corruption, fight against corruption, and government accountability. So, we didn't pass it because the people wanted to be generous to us. No, because of actions they've seen. You've seen actions. Yes, unlike Liberians, unlike us, we beat ourselves. And members of the press, unlike what you do, yeah, we could be, you beat your country. You beat people in government. That's it. You are the 4th branch of government. You are a whole branch. And so you do your part. It all helps us.
No project.
I like that. So we should put the 4th branch in the budget. Then we'll put the 4th branch, who will criticize or Nelson? Will be Julius. You guys are too critical. So we'll put the 4th branch in the budget next time. But so they look at that. But I want to say something here. The question is not asked. It has to do with MCC. Just to clarify something. One of the indicators that we did not pass is employment opportunity. And many persons were jumping to criticize the government. You haven't created jobs. Yeah, we know that we're doing much. And job creation comes from what we're doing, expanding the economy. Private sector is enhancing. If you see the activity at the port, they're operating in the night, all the containers are coming from there. It will tell you that people are selling. Otherwise, you will not find traffic moving from the port to sometimes Lokita Cinema in the night to take goods. We will go on all what I call ABC indicators of progress. But they were lambasting government on employment opportunity. many persons did not ask what that indicator was measuring. And for the sake of you guys, members, honorable members of the press, let me just read what the indicator was measuring. Employment opportunity indicator. This indicator, this from the MCC guide to MCC scorecard indicators of fiscal 2026. So some of you guys that want to know more, we can share that with you so that you have an informed basis, you know. Everybody's in the debate, but sometimes before you start the debate, go and research. So it says that the indicator measures a country's government's commitment to ending slavery and forced labor, preventing employment discrimination, and protecting the rights of workers and people with disabilities. That is the indicator. You know, the measuring our commitment to ending slavery and forced labor. You know, preventing employment discrimination, you know, and protecting the rights of workers and people with disabilities. That's the indicator. Now, let me tell you about indicators. There's an average stuff. It's they're grading you against the others. So you could do well. You could be doing stuff. But if at one point many others did more than you fall in, you will not be considered pass. So they have a median, they have a technical way of doing it. So we note some of these gaps. We passed 12. We did not pass 10. And even the ones we pass, we're not going to rest on our hours because you can pass this year, you fail next year in certain things. So we're taking action so that almost all the indicators will improve. But as I said, the two hard hurdles, you can pass 20 indicators. If you fail the corruption indicator and the personal freedom indicator, you fail. So.
Good afternoon, Minister and your deputies and assistant. My name is Fafle Kamara. I work for ELBC. A few days ago, I hosted the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ways, Finance and Budget. And one of his critiques of the budget, even though it's on scrutiny or perusal, he said that domestic debt is becoming an issue because most of those, the claimants, they use the court to legitimize their claims. And you, the Ministry of Finance, pay them. So I want you to clarify the issue of domestic debt and also the issue of the security budget. People believe that government increases the budget of the NSA for some sinister motive. Can you please clarify?
Oh, let me deal with the security budget issue before coming to domestic debt. You know, if you check in terms of partner support, so we sit here, government to take up. Security sector will hardly get support from partners. Will hardly. You know, very few partners will give direct support to security sector entities. Very few partners. But like the health, the education, the agriculture, they are the normal donor darlings. If you check the country programs of many of the multilaterals, they emphasize that. So we know all. And that for security, you know, we don't give you all the details. The country is safe. There are too many things that go into making the country safe. There are too many things. Your duty is you wake up in the morning, you go to LBS, you do your job, you go home. So keep it like that. If you know the backstory, you know what is done, you know, I think there will be appreciation for security more. But all I can say, we are not reckless in budgeting for security. You talk about NSA. Check the GAC report. In the NSA audit of the consolidated for 2023. In 2023, the government budgeted 28 million for NSA. And I think spent 84 million. NSA. What we've done? Whatever amount, I think the total NSA budget this year, I think it's just around 22 or what million, something like that. It's even under. is even under 2023 levels. We're not reckless. We're not reckless. So in 2 years, we're just around 22. When in 2023, you're talking about 28. So, all these criticisms come here and there. I cannot come and divulge all the details that go into funding security institutions. They will have the liberty, they know their boundaries. I cannot go beyond. But I know for the way I can tell you that there's too much goes into keeping the country safe. Too much. Some of the things, are not overtly stated. But I can say that it's not just we're funding, we're giving more money for praising conditions and what have you. It's on security. But who goes to the security? Who goes to prison? If people go to prison and they're in these kinds of conditions, if we give more money, say the security budget increase. Well, yeah, maybe a lot of them are sure that they'll never go to prison. Yeah. So it's not out of whack. It's not out of whack. I can tell you this. Yeah.
The domestic debt.
Yeah, domestic debt. Oh, okay. The total debt stock, I think it's going to increase. It's about 2.7 billion. What we owe is more than the budget. Domestic debt, I think the last time was about 1.08 billion or so. Maybe a little. Now with the new GSE vetting of some debt, the domestic debt, the debt is going to increase by almost 95 million. So the domestic debt, is competing with the budget. But who are the main holders of our domestic debt? The main holders are the central bank, commercial bank. I told you that the commercial banks, to pay our debt service obligation to commercial banks, 90 million almost is in this budget to pay commercial banks. It may look like waste. Don't pay the commercial banks. You're going to affect the entire economy. So we have to pay. I told you, you were not here, 11 million in the budget goes to paying Africa SM Bank for the RIA Monrovia RIA Road. So we paying them. Now, people go to court and they win judgment against government. And lawyers, it's been a lawyers parade here on me. Almost all the lawyers have visited us. They say, we won a court case against government. But I usually tell them, I say, you know how many court cases government has lost? Huh? So if you are one of many. So what we usually tell them, you know what? Just to win court case against government is one thing. We want to be able to pay. But we must raise the money. So if the court case or court decides and says that this claim is legitimate, sometimes it makes it difficult for us to contest. The court of the land. So if we reach a point, and if there's some skullduggery happening at the court, we need to tell the Chief Justice to look at that, because we should be able to believe in court judgment. Now, if what you are telling me and what the Honorable Senator, who is the chairman of our committee, is saying is a cause of concern. But we have not been rushing, because firstly, it's been an issue of even getting the resources. So the number of questions with court claims, quote-unquote court claims, I think my people will give you the figure. I think it will be more than 100 million or so people. We've lost many cases. Many cases government has lost. But it's good that the judiciary, if this is the case, that there is some things happening that are untoward, we'll ask even our investigators to investigate. LACC and others should track what is happening and bring whosoever is the culprit or culprits to book. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Minister. I'm concerned about social services. I know we're paying a DEA, and of recent we took disadvantaged young people from the streets, took them to a holding place, but there were complaints of not getting adequate support, good shelter, feeding, and everything. I mean, we want to rid the country of drugs. That's something. Persons living with disabilities is also very key. I saw the budget from the National Commission on Disabilities is on $1 million. This is something to look at. Then the next point is, I mean, you hear businesses crying. The taxes are high. Taxes are high. Now, government is saying, hey, to raise our 94% of the revenue to support the budget, we're increasing taxes.
Let me say this. Go and check the region. Liberia has one of the lowest tax regimes. So these people should not just, when we're talking about even minimum wage, how many persons know that the Liberian minimum wage is higher than most of the region? So Liberians, I love what we do. We beat ourselves. The Liberian tax regime is one of the most reasonable. We do not tax businesses out of existence, and because we want them to survive and thrive, because it's the only way that we get the revenue. In terms of what we're doing for the social sector, one of the main is from multiple sectors. The fight against drugs has benefited significantly from funding. It's a multi-sector approach. The Ministry of Health is doing some things, and what they are doing there, we are funded, we're giving them more money. The LDA itself is doing some things, I think, and we should entertain. Youth and sports. So all of them in their drug efforts, we have given them more money. So, when you put it together, we have funded. The president has said this is a priority, and we must take it as such. And we are walking the talk by budgeting for it. So that's one of the reasons why the vulnerability of the DEA people. That's one of the reasons why we even emphasizing that. So, look, the budget, let me give you this. The budget doesn't solve all the problems. I will be the first to tell you that. But let me put this in context. When we did the budget hearings and got requests from ministries and agencies in terms of what they want, minimum, almost $2 billion. $2 billion. So yes, we can talk about an increase in the budget size, but what entities wanted for us to do, for them to do for government, we are still a far cry from it. So there will be areas that will be short. We know that. That's why some of the issues you guys in the press are talking, we're taking note. In the conversation in the legislature, there could be some accommodation, but we're taking note for next year. And that also, what we cannot do in government budget, we are attracting some partner support. Some of these areas in the social, there are a lot of partner support that benefits them too. So one of these days, we'll come and have what I call a panoramic conversation, where I tell you, for this sector, this is what they're getting from the government budget, this is what they're getting from this other project, this is what they're getting from this other project. So that's how it is.
Yeah, finally, because time is fast spent, and you have a whole lot of things on. Have you heard from people that the country had? And you are the main minister who should show that the country should not be hard. Do you believe this thing? Have you heard it? Do you believe that the country is hard?
The country hard.
If so, what are you doing? What are you going to do? What are the different measures? How can you assure the people that this country that they say is hard, it will start to get soft sooner than later?
Julius, one of the first things I did when I entered this place, you talk about pay. Government was notorious for delaying people's pay. One of the first things I attacked on day one, when I called my people, as soon as I took over, we assembled here. I said, we got to change that. See what is happening. Look, if we delay people pay, we have imposed a tax on them. It's what I call the tax the delay tax. If you're paying your civil servant $200 and they expect the money at the end of the month and you delay that money for 1 month, that civil servant has to go and find someone to credit them, loan them money at 25%. Think about 25% from $200. And you pay 1 month later, that civil servant, you're actually giving them almost like $150, right? $150. $50 delay tax. One of the first things we did was to attack delay tax. We've done it quietly. And to the extent that I like what happens that when we delay sometimes because of some technical issues, sometimes the banks, if it is 1 week, we've tried to be able to pay by the 25th. You know, at one point, we said we put out on one week delay notice, but we pay usually around the 20th. And people say, oh, you're delaying pay. But the 1 week added to the 20th was stay within the month. So, but you are being held to your past standards. We like that. We like that. So you think those that were being delayed, and now the reality they face, you think they don't know the impact of that? Or I was talking about bosses that government ministries and agencies are buying for employees. I said, yeah, I don't like to juxtapose with the past. But when I was here before, we had bosses, you know, we had things for our civil servants. I come back and they tell me more than 7 years, no boss. And we have we just a few months ago, you know, we dedicated about 7 buses. We're getting more. So you think those civil servants that are riding those buses, they don't see the difference?
Millions are in government, sir.
Well, no, I'm coming. The millions that they are riding the road to Grand Gide, some of whom were getting stuck, going to different countries, to Lofa. NTA bus moving from here to Banjama in the rainy season. You know how people from Lofa used to go home? Either through Sierra Leone or through Guinea. This time they're not seeing. You think they don't know what has happened in terms of the money saved? You're hearing that we financing, yes, the contractor, they took money from the bank, but we are paying the bank for the NTA buses, government money. It is government's money, eventually. Now, you're hearing that MTA has put buses on the street for how much? How much? $50. Huh? The people that have been paying higher money and getting the buses, are they government employees? You know, the roads we're building, the schools we're about to dedicate of staff, the construction of 100 schools for foundational learning. Each country going to benefit. Who's going there? Who's going there? Who's going there? The children of this country. So in all sectors, there's improvement. But let me tell you this. Let me just put this in context. Julius, you know what is called the structural impediments to growth. This problem we face is not a quick fix like this. You know why the MCC people first? They went and looked at the Liberian economy and said, what do you solve first? They said energy, they said roads or infrastructure. They've come again. They said it still remains the constraints. When we are putting money there, we are solving that problem. So things will improve, but it's not going to be like this. Things are improving. I usually say that where we met it and where we are today is far better. And a lot of counts I can tell you. The fact is just one count, just one little indicator of progress. We have not gone to the central bank to credit to pay salary. We have not. We are paying the salary. We are paying the central bank for salary borrowed for the past. So if people don't calculate that as progress, think about progress. And I can tell you, see how people measure progress. If someone has fallen in or is to take the person from that 20-foot hole and bring the person on the ground, right? Okay. So what you start to do? You've moved 15 feet up, right? If you go 15 feet up, will the people see you on the ground? Will the people that are looking at progress by seeing Judas and the person on the ground, would they see the person? They would not have seen that person. But that person is just 5 feet from the ground. You have made 15 feet progress. So in some respect, some of the progress we've made, people will not know. Because we did not meet some of the indicators at ground zero. We met it on the ground. We take it from underground. We bring it up. So when we're coming up, when we not meet that ground zero level, sea level, those who will not see progress by seeing Judas and that little child from the hole. Who said Judas has made no progress? But Judas has jumped up 15 feet. That's how it is. So there is progress in every sector. But people feel, and sometimes I call it the paradox of excellence. When you set yourself out like Judas, you're a smart student, an A student. If people know you, they say you can score A. The day in a tough test you score C, when people are scoring F, people that know your standards say, but Judas failed. You get what I'm saying? But they're grading you by your high standard. So there's progress going on. Some of the progress we're making, not quick fix like this. Not like this. It's not like this. So if we succeed on the MCC thing, most likely going to this constraint. And when we deal with the constraint, how about there's a conversation? When we deal with the constraints, many of the other things can move faster. If we delay roads, we delay energy, we'll still be stuck. So we want to move faster, hence the emphasis on these top 2 critical priorities.
Let's take the last 3 from David, Nelson, in our order, and Fabio.
Yes, you talked about trying to support the revenue collection entity, which is the LRA. I come back to LRA. LRA is asking for 5% of the total budget that they collect. Based on your explanation here, does it suggest that you've met that target? LRA is asking for 5% of the total budget in order for them to be more efficient and be able to even generate more.
Well, in dealing with LRA, we have to incentivize them. My people will check whether they met the 5%. LRA has been doing well, generally. All revenue generating entities have been doing well. I told you about the revenue growth from 2023 of 611 domestic, we reached almost 700 million. And last year, let me say this again, last year was the first year that Liberia as a country generated that amount of domestic revenue. It was a record. I thought since the founding of the country. Last year, what we generated in domestic revenue was the highest. So the meeting target generally, there's been some challenges, but generally the meeting target, my people will tell me the percentage, it will be more. We are doing more for LRA because we want them to do more. And LRA, we're going to set up some performance indicators that will be tagged with the disbursements to them, because we got to raise the revenue. But from what I see from the Commissioner General and his team, I have no cause to doubt, because we're talking about a man who works, and the team he has assembled is working very hard, and it is our duty to support them, and we will support them.
Yeah, just a final one from my end. I'm concerned about the budget performance. We're driving from 800 million now to over $1 billion. What can you say about the performance for this year that is gradually being climaxed, given what was allotted to different sector, ministries, agencies, and all of that?
Well, we face first quarter challenges on account of all the aid costs and other things we talk about. You know, when the USAA court came, people were prophesying doom. It was like a apocalyptic prediction going all around, and people started to declare shortfalls even before the quarters or the year could end. But you know, some of you follow soccer very well. 30 minutes in the game does not, or after 30 minutes, the winner of the game is not determined. It's at the end. And extra time, nowadays they're very generous with extra time, right? So it's at the end that you count shortfalls and whatever. First quarter was not good, but we've balanced out, and I think we were on target. We're on target to meeting the budget figure for this year.
Well, Minister, you said that you take civil servants to pre-harmonization status. Have you done that?
I never said to you that you know, that I said that is beyond. In fact, it's beyond even pre-harmonization status. I never said that we could achieve that in 1 year. Look, when we started, I was budget director of the Republic of Liberia. We met civil servants at $15 per month. Working with then Minister Sire, we put civil servants on a growth trajectory. When I left the Ministry of Finance, go and ask the civil servants where they were. Where they were. In fact, MCSL teachers, I was honored and gowned by them for what I did for teachers, because we put teachers on a different scale. To the extent that when the first month when we implemented that, I think it was 2010, most of the teachers, because we had just started direct deposit, we stopped this thing about people standing on a long line. Sometimes the line will move from like Echo Bank all the way to Randolph Street and whatever. We stopped all of those. But one of the things that happened when those teachers went and they saw their pay, most of them took money back. They went to complain. They went to complain to the banks that there were some illegal transactions in their account. They did not know that it was their money. But who did that? So this is a stickler for pay increase. I don't feel that we should pay people as purpose to get the best out of them. So we've inherited a challenge situation. I would give you the analogy of Judas taking this child from the home. To some extent, that's what we are. I'm dealing with a debt situation. $83 million debt. Had I not gotten that, you're talking about $16 million in this budget. Judas, Vafle, do you know why it would have meant for me to take the $16 million and give some money to LBS? You know what it would have done for you? You specific. You know, director of news with big title. You know, now you see the man with tie with yeah. But think about it. So we're dealing with it. So we're dealing with the past every year. And it's not to stop there. It's not our standard to say we'll pass. As the economy grows, we'll solve this problem, but we cannot do it in 1 year. That's all we say. It is a goal, and harmonization rate is not the end. It's not the target. You know, we could go above it. So we are working, and based on what we are doing, and from what I sense, you know, see what's going to happen in the next few years.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. This has been very engaging. Thank you so much.